Mahiro Oyama is a former otaku slacker and brother-turned-sister of Mahiro Oyama, having been transformed into a high school girl by one of Mihari's experiments. Marika Kono voices him in the anime. Mahiro's appearance as a boy just before his transformation has never been fully seen. When she was young, her face looked strikingly similar to what it does now, but her pinkish gray hair was much shorter. After Mihari turned her into a teenager, Mahiro's hair now reaches halfway down her back, with a lock sticking out at the top and two longer locks falling forward, covering her ears. She is now slightly shorter than Mihari and looks extremely cute and adorable. Because Mihari replaced all her male clothing, Mahiro now wears skirts and dresses almost exclusively. Despite this, she is happy whenever she has the opportunity to wear what could be considered boyish clothes. As time passes, Mahiro begins to mature both physically and emotionally. While still adorable, her outfits take on a more mature tone through the use of stockings and jackets. She grows a little larger and her bust size also increases, allowing her to wear standard bras. Mahiro used to be a lazy slob who only spent his time reading unconventional hentai manga with bondage and sex bondage stories, and who spent his days playing eroge video games. It was noted that prior to the start of the series, he had not left his house for 2 years. According to Mihari, Mahiro was not always like this. When they were younger, they were very close and got along very well. Mahiro would buy his sister stickers when she asked for them, win her stuffed animals on amusement park rides, and even give her his trademark hair barrette as a reward for doing well on a test. He stopped spending time with her as she grew older and her accomplishments surpassed anything he could ever hope to achieve, the result of a combination of an inferiority complex along with Mihari and adolescent pressure. Despite this, Mahiro has shown an innate talent for composing haikus about her daily life. After being transformed into a girl by Mihari, Mahiro did not put up much resistance, although she showed some initial reluctance to go out, shower regularly and comply with all of Mihari's new rules for her. Over time, her old personality began to fade and she began to exhibit the personality of a tender younger sister who loved to dress up and be babysat by Mihari. However, the main aspect of her former personality that remained was her love for video games, and she is constantly seen playing them in her free time. In general, Mahiro and Mihari's roles have since been reversed and Mihari takes care of Mahiro rather than the other way around. At the beginning of the series, Mahiro hated going out and was overwhelmed by crowds due to spending 2 years cooped up inside her house. Spending time with Kid and Momiji helped lessen the discomfort and eventually disappeared shortly after she enrolled in high school. Although she still shows up from time to time, Mahiro gets over it by hanging out with her friends. After being hit on the head by a box, temporarily losing her memory and gaining the personality of a girl in the process, some of this other personality has begun to seep through on occasion. This shows up in actions such as the occasional cheesy expression, taking naps after eating cookies to Mihari's frustration, and being made uncomfortable by the X-rated manga about sex slavery and bondage that she used to devour. A recurring joke throughout the series is Mahiro peeing herself for not making it to the bathroom on time, but also for the occasional scare. Miraculously, during these incidents she manages to avoid getting her dresses or skirts wet, and only her underwear and stockings take the hit. She originally felt extremely unhappy and embarrassed when it happened, but now it has happened so often that she has gotten used to it and it no longer bothers her. This self-confidence has even helped Momiji feel better when she too suffers similar incidents. After Matsuri came home temporarily, everyone around Mahiro began to notice how motherly Mahiro naturally appears due to her affectionate nature. Mihari, Kid, and the rest of Mahiro's friends agree that Mahiro's desire to care for others and comfort them in times of need makes her a natural mother at heart, though Mahiro dreads that prospect. Despite multiple occasions when the drug began to wear off, causing Mahiro's comrade to grow back, Mahiro has chosen to continue taking additional doses of the drug to remain a woman. She continues to assert her lost masculinity and rejoices when her comrade returns, but has opted to remain female for the time being because she loves all her new friends and her new life. In the end, she has chosen to try to find a balance between her old life and her new one. Mahiro came into the world 20 years before the series began, being the firstborn son of Matsuri Oyama and her husband. His father's current status remains unknown, as he has so far not been mentioned or appeared in the series, and all the childhood memories Mahiro and Mihari have shared involve only Matsuri. 3 years later, Mahiro became a big brother when Matsuri gave birth to their second child, a girl they named Mihari. Mahiro was reportedly very close to Mihari from the moment she came into the world. When Mihari was 4 years old, a storm broke out while she was at home with Mahiro. She became frightened and started calling out to Mahiro while hugging a stuffed animal of Oshima. Mahiro immediately comforted her and wrapped them both with a blanket to reassure her. He then suggested that she sleep next to him for a while, and although Mahari was nervous, she soon fell asleep. 3 years later, when Mahari was 7 years old and starting elementary school, she, Mahiro and Matsuri took a trip to the Oshimai amusement park. During the visit, Mahiro played a shooting game and won a prize that turned out to be an Oshima stuffed animal. Mahiro gave it to Mahari, who immediately hugged him and fell in love with him. Later that day, Mahari got separated from Mahiro and Matsuri, which led her to start crying until Mahiro found her again. 6 years later, Mahiro started high school. By then, Mahari was already excelling in both academics and sports, reaching the top of her class by the end of the first semester of high school. By the end of her time in high school, she had set multiple records in sporting events, such as track and field, that still remain unbeaten. Although he achieved all of this by seeking Mahiro's approval, that success had a negative effect on him. He soon began to feel inferior when compared to her, even though she was younger, and began to devote less and less time to her. However, Mahari did not notice this and continued to try even harder in hopes of spending more time with Mahiro. Mahiro eventually graduated from high school, but without any academic achievements or plans for the future. Disillusioned at not being able to measure up to Mahari, Mahiro began to isolate himself in his room, spending his time playing video games and reading manga, and avoiding everyone and everything. Shortly before Mahari entered high school, Matsuri took a long-term job overseas and moved away, leaving Mahari and Mahiro alone, although she was supposedly sending them money for rent and food. On Mahari's first day of high school, she was excited about her uniform and went to Mahiro's room to show it off. However, he was already isolating himself with a "Do Not Enter" sign on the door, and did not respond when she tried to talk to him. Concerned, Mahari wanted to find a way to help him. On her way to school, he made a casual comment to Mahari about how makeup and fashion can improve self-esteem. This inspired Mahari to transform Mahiro into a girl. She soon devised a plan to reverse her isolation and disillusionment, and so began her project. The night before the events of Mahiro's confusing new body, Mahari administered the full drug to Mahiro during dinner, in the anime, drinking, to begin the process. That night, while Mahiro slept, the drug transformed him into a teenage girl. I hope you liked the video. If you want me to bring a video about your anime character, comment it. Don't forget to check the videos of the channel. See you in the next video.